If I'd known how much a plain white envelope could change my life, maybe I would have paid closer attention from the start. For most of my 68 years, I didn't think twice about mail. Junk flyers, bills, the occasional birthday card or tax form. After my husband passed away, I sold our family house in Portland and settled in a sunny, modest duplex just outside Eugene, Oregon. 2 bedrooms, southern windows, and enough hydrangeas to keep me busy in spring. I thought it would be the beginning of a new, simple season. One last adventure, just for me. What I hadn't planned on was how helpful my son Jason and his wife Kimberly would suddenly become. "Mom, online banking is getting more complicated every year," Jason would say, patting my hand as if he were the parent. "Let us help. You relax. We'll handle the bills and set up everything for you, including those new auto payments, so you never have to think about a late fee." At first, their offers made sense, or at least I wanted them to. $2,400 a month in pension, plus the neat lump sum of $180,000 still left from selling the house. It was more than enough for groceries, taxes, even knitting supplies, and the odd weekend bus trip to the coast with my friends from the St. Anne's group. But bit by bit, another side of independence began to slip away. Jason's tone grew more insistent. He'd pause whatever he was doing to answer suspicious calls, collect any mail left on the foyer table, and check my phone for phishing texts. Kimberly made herself the first line of contact for all my medical appointments, and to my annoyance, started filling out my insurance forms to avoid any mistakes. I felt like a guest in my own life. It's funny how control disappears. Slowly, the bills I always expected started showing up late or not at all. "Must be the Postal Service again," Jason would sigh, shaking his head, even as he tucked a stack of unopened envelopes under his arm so nothing gets lost. I barely noticed until I missed a payment on my utilities, then another. For the very first time, was I losing my mind? Some evenings, lying in bed, I'd feel panic flutter in my chest. Could it be that simple? Old age, memory loss, a few little slip-ups, and I become a mess to manage? Then Kim would bring me a cup of tea, and Jason would promise he'd already sorted everything out. "No need to worry, Mom." Their comfort was just enough to soothe me, but slowly fear crept into the smallest corners of my life. What if I really was losing track? Or worse, what if this wasn't just about loving care? That Friday night, I sat staring at my empty mailbox under the porch light, and the silence pressed in. For the first time, I started to wonder if someone else was watching my life even closer than I was. It was the start of October when things went from odd to unsettling. My pension wire always arrived on the 3rd of each month. I check my account every morning out of habit, sometimes laughing at how old-fashioned that made me. But this time, the balance hadn't budged. I double-checked the bank's website. Still nothing. Jason didn't seem the least bit worried. "You know, Mom, digital payments get stuck all the time. And these new systems, sometimes they auto-reverse and take a few days to land." Kimberly nodded along, her lips pursed tight. "Besides, I set up those auto-pay features so you don't even have to log in. I'll go ahead and check it on my phone for you." She took my phone before I could protest, fingers moving too quickly through my banking app. I felt a chill run down my arms. Wasn't that my job? I used to pay all our bills in Portland, even when my husband fell ill. Never missed a single date. How could I suddenly be so useless? Day after day, more mail seemed to disappear or arrive late. The water bill, my winter clothes catalog, and even the regular community newsletter. Sometimes I'd spot Jason with a fistful of envelopes, waving them as if he'd done me a huge favor. "Got everything handled," he'd boast. But At my next coffee morning with Molly, my neighbor 2 doors down, she remarked, "Funny thing, Dorothy. Saw Kimberly hanging around your mailbox on Thursday afternoon. Thought she might be waiting for a package, but she didn't seem to grab anything. Was she helping out?" That simple observation hit me like a thunderbolt. Why would Kimberly need to be there in daylight, alone, when I get my mail after lunch? Molly shrugged it off, but I couldn't. That night, my heart raced as I replayed every odd moment, every time an envelope went missing, every time Jason or Kim took my phone for just a minute. I poured myself some weak Earl Grey and sat by the window watching shadows play across the lawn. I couldn't sleep, not with the vague sense that my pension, my privacy, maybe even my future were quietly slipping out of my hands. I decided I'd stop doubting my memory and start doubting my helpers. The next morning, I picked up a little camera from the hardware store. If I was wrong, no harm done. But if I was right, everything would change. It's funny how even the smallest changes in your daily routine can make you feel either powerful or completely lost. That week, I made a habit of peeking out my front window every hour or so, just to see if anyone was near my mailbox. I started small. An old garden gnome shifted beside the post, a bright red ribbon that only I would notice if it went missing. 2 days went by. Nothing. On Thursday, though, just after 11 a.m., I spotted Kimberly out front with her phone in one hand, glancing up and down the street. She looked nervous. The minute she saw my neighbor's dog walker coming, she slipped her hand inside my mailbox and grabbed almost all of the envelopes. I watched in disbelief as she tucked them into her purse, all the while pretending to scroll on Facebook. Why hadn't I noticed this before? Had I really become so naive? That evening, I reviewed the camera footage I'd installed the morning before. There it was, clear as day, Kimberly reaching in, rifling through my personal mail, ignoring anything addressed resident, only choosing envelopes with my name or my bank's logo. I felt heat in my cheeks, embarrassment mixing with a sharp burst of anger. I paused the recording and set my tea mug down with a firm clink, hands shaking but heart wild with vindication. But there was another piece. That night, unable to sleep, a memory surfaced. Just a year ago, after my husband's funeral, Jason had insisted on helping me with paperwork. "Mom, just sign here and here. Simplifies the estate. Nothing to worry about." I signed those forms blindly, still numb from grief. Had he started planning even then? My mind raced with regret, shame, and a cold clarity that felt like someone unlocking every window in a house I thought was safe. I pressed play again on the footage and my breath caught. Kimberly wasn't alone in this. Jason appeared behind her a minute later. They laughed about something and she handed him 2 envelopes. My own son, not just helper, but accomplice. Tomorrow, I'd search every corner of their world for proof, because watching was no longer enough. I needed something I could take to the world outside my front door. The next morning, I woke with one goal in mind: find something concrete, undeniable, something that would confirm the gnawing suspicion that had settled deep in my bones. I wasn't just worried about missing mail or confusing payments anymore. I was convinced someone close was betraying me. I confided in Mrs. Lawson, my next-door neighbor, who'd always been a sharp-eyed friend. When I told her about Kimberly at my mailbox, she nodded knowingly and said, "Dorothy, you're not imagining things. I've seen that woman hanging around your place more often than just visiting." With her encouragement, I installed a small hidden camera next to the mailbox, cleverly disguised as a garden ornament. For 3 long days, I sat near the window, heart thudding with every creak outside. And then there it was. The clear, undeniable footage of Kimberly carefully opening my mailbox, rifling through letters, and sliding a handful into her purse. I nearly dropped the tablet when I saw who followed. Jason! Stepping out from behind the fence and retrieving an envelope from Kimberly's purse like it was their secret stash. My son. My own flesh and blood stealing from me. I knew this was bigger than late bills or lost checks. It was a carefully orchestrated plan. I dug through my scattered documents in the days that followed, and in the trash bin behind Jason's house, I found something chilling. A completed form to transfer my pension payments directly to a joint account under their control. Alongside it, medical papers with my forged signature claimed cognitive impairment as if I were incapable of managing my own affairs. That night, I sat in my kitchen, hands trembling, staring at the evidence. I never felt so betrayed, yet clearer-headed. I realized I needed help beyond my own strength. The following morning, I was dialing the police, not just to report theft, but to protect my dignity and my future. The battle for my independence was just beginning. The evidence was overwhelming, and with it, a storm of feelings that I couldn't put into words. Betrayal, disbelief, a pulse pounding in my ears. I had to act, and fast. I called the local township police department the very next morning, explaining everything: the stolen mail, the footage, the forged documents, the attempted pension transfer. The officer's voice was calm but serious, as he promised they would investigate. Financial elder abuse is sadly more common than you'd think, Mrs. Dorothy. Family members often exploit our elders when no one's looking. While the investigation was underway, I took back control in small but crucial ways. I changed every password for my online banking, set up alerts for every transaction, and took back my mail from my porch every single day. No more trusting Jason or Kimberly with access to my personal affairs. Most importantly, I packed my things and moved. A fresh start in a small town several states away where no one knew our story. I would rebuild my privacy, my security, and my peace of mind. News came weeks later that Jason and Kimberly were being charged with mail theft, forgery, and attempted financial exploitation. Justice was slow, but certain. I had protected myself and my dignity, but not without scars. Sometimes I wonder if my son even realizes how deeply his actions cut. But that's a question for another time. Right now, I focus on my new life, one where I can answer my own phone, check my own mail, and make my own decisions.